Michael Kelly is the Vice President of Impact on Participant Media. His mission is to enact change through film. Today, we talk about his past, his present, and future.
Michael is a father, a spiritual leader, and a friend. We dive deep in the conversation. Let's get into it.
Michael, thank you so much for joining us, and I appreciate the time you have and just gracing us with your presence.
Yes.
And I want to walk people through your particular journey on how did you land at participant, VP of Global Impact. What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Oh, well, not global.
Oh,
But, that's not the title. That's not the title. Right?
You global, though.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. But no, I've just been so blessed and fortunate. First of all, thank y'all for having me. It's so funny how we met, which I know, we'll talk through it, but just believe in everything that y'all doing. So any chance I get a chance to vibe with y'all,
I appreciate it.
I'm with it. But yeah, really fortunate and blessed to, for just about almost 2 years now, be the VP for Impact, at Participant. How I got here, how transparent
Very transparent. I want to hear all the way raw.
Can we get into it?
Yeah.
So October 2020 was honestly, in that moment, the worst day of my life. I'm at Disneyland. At the time I'm pastoring at, my church, Mount Rubidoux.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there for 11 years up to that point. That's where we met.
Yeah.
And I get this call from my boss, on vacation, like, yo, you got to come home right now. And I'm like, yo, what's up with that?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I have to?
Where were you working at the time?
So I was pastoring in Mount Rubin.
Yeah.
Mount Rubin. And then, okay.
Yeah, so I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
In Florida, Florida's the only place that was open during the pandemic a little bit, with their stuff. So I'm there. He says, come on. I'm like, what's up? He's like, there's just been some concerns. I'm like, concerns, but I knew there was something, right?
Yeah.
So jump on the plane, come on, without going through all the, gory details.
Right.
I actually got fired.
Wow.
I got fired. I had made some really poor personal decisions as far as my dating life, my love life, and I mean, that's a whole separate podcast.
Yeah,
right?
most definitely.
With that. And so here I am with a career I've given 20 years of my life to, a community that I've been for 11 years, and I got let go. And so, there's a whole lot, of course, nuance that went through with that. But I remembered you're always thinking like, what am I going to do next?
Yeah.
Like, what is the next move? And I remember God speaking to me very clearly. He said, look, for the last 20 years, you were obedient in what I called you to do. Because I never grew up wanting to be a pastor.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't my dream.
No one never.
No, like, there's not a lot of people who
It's
want
not very glamorous.
But he said, and I appreciate that. He said, but dream.
Right.
He's like, dream. What do you want to do? And let's go. And so I said, all right, God. I said, for real? He said, yeah. I said, you know what? I said, I want to do entertainment. I said, I want a career in entertainment. At the time, I was 41, 42 years old.
Wow. Resetting a whole career at 40.
Resetting a whole career at 40. And so he was like, all right, bet. Let's go. Again, skipping through a lot of different things, but it took me about 2 years to get to where I am today. Went through my retirement, went through all my savings, because I was like, this is my dream.
Yeah.
I'm going after it.
Right.
And the journey and the process took a lot of faith and sacrifice, but I got here.
I do want to, sorry.
Can I jump in? Sorry.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I want to backtrack.
Yeah.
You're talking about shepherding a community. And when you're shepherding a community, how exhausting is that? And what kind of work does go into being a pastor at a particular congregation or church?
Yeah. So, it's your life.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you can't look at it as a job. You can't even really look at it as a career. Like that's literally your life, because to be effective in that kind of work, you have to genuinely love and care about people.
Yeah.
And when you love and genuinely care about people, you're never off the clock.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously there's boundaries and stuff that you put in place, but it takes a lot out of you. And it takes a lot of dedication, a lot of sacrifice, not just from you, but from your family as well. So yeah, it's the most demanding and committing aspect of work I think that you can have. not only because of the time, but your heart just really is connected. Like I've seen people born, married them, buried them, blessed their babies, been with them through, divorces and all kinds of the difficult times of their life. So it's a demanding, commitment that you make to pastor.
You have a different perspective on people and relationships, and how do you navigate that with your own personal life?
Yeah, so again, boundaries I think is very important because naturally I am a person that just loves to connect with people.
Right.
I think that's what's helped me get along in different aspects of where phase of my career I'm in. And so it's just a matter of just really being able to put up boundaries, like letting people in. But then say, we got to hold on a second, a little too close there. So
I do want to tackle a little bit more. You saying transitioning to your dreams. Now, were you always like aspiring to be in the entertainment industry while you're pursuing? I guess there's transition.
While you're pastoring?
Yeah, pastoring.
No, so I think the unique thing is I always love film. Like before Blockbuster and stuff, my father owned several video stores. Not the franchise, but your own individual one. And my father was just so creative with the things that he did with getting people to come and rent. Like when Empire Strikes Back came out, he had a dude come up dressed up as a Darth Vader. And people could take pictures with him before they rented the movies, line all around the block. Wow. And so my babysitting for, honestly, while he was working, was sitting down watching movies. Yeah. So I always had a love of film. And at my church, I was very involved in the community. We did different initiatives around foster care, social justice, civic engagement, human trafficking. We did a lot of those things. To rally the congregation, though, we would always show a film. So when we did our foster care initiative, we watched Antoine Fisher. Right. And so when I looked at entertainment, I wondered, is there a place that actually does entertainment, but also social impact? Found participant.
There is essentially a business with the church. And can you kind of like, for people that don't understand and maybe sometimes very new of our visiting a church, is what goes on, the inner workings of the church in itself and the business of the church?
Business and spirituality, separations.
Yeah, well, I think from the business perspective, you have a team. Like I had a team.
Yeah, like an executive team.
Yeah, 4 pastors, were with me, paid employees. You have your secretaries, different administrators and things like that. So, there's leadership, there's strategic planning, there's vision casting. Then there's also the business aspect of, I had to manage a budget of, $3+ million, how to be responsible with that, making sure that the money was coming in. We had enough to cover, expenses and, cast, the vision and make sure the budget matches the vision. So, those are the business aspects, of it. But sprinkled in with that, of course, is the principles of faith and how we interact with employees and each other and those things. So
now, today, the church it's a show. I don't know. From my perspective, there's a lot of things going on with the church at the moment. And what do you think the idea of what people are viewing today in the church, as far as like you see Pastor Todd and people like mixing entertainment with the church in itself?
And I honestly like the show aspect of it because you kind of correlate with entertainment and you can grasp the audience a lot more.
Is that an easier approach for someone to digest the word if you put on a particular type of spectacle in a sense?
Yeah, I don't look at it so much as like, even though I get it, like the idea of, the spectacle and all these things, I look at it as just different ways that we now look to how do we engage the culture.
Right.
Like all I really want to do, let's say in a service, for example, I want to engage, like how do I, especially today, right? Where 15 seconds, if you get someone's attention for 15 seconds, that's a great thing. Yeah. So how do I engage you? How do I suck you in? So there's a couple aspects I think of a service. I want to engage you. I want to involve you. And then I also want to challenge you.
Ooh.
And so however that looks, and when you look at the Pastor Todd's or Stephen Furtick's and those folk, I think they're looking for ways to, how do I engage my audience? How do I then involve them? And then how do I challenge them with the word? And there are different aspects of a service that do that. So to me, I think that's important. And the people who don't do that, we don't need to engage. Well, yes, you do, because I have to get your attention.
And how do you save a younger audience if they're not engaged into an old way of traditional looking at things?
Right.
Exactly.
If you're not growing up to the church, a lot of people, older pastors, they exegete the word and becomes a little bit boring for some newer generation. So engaging I'm not
Well,
saying,
no, say it's not boring. It says it's not.
it's hard to
alluring.
engage, honestly, with newer generations, especially millennials or younger millennials,
Or
Gen
Gen
Zers.
Zers, for sure.
If you're just sitting there just reading passages and exegeting the word, it's hard to get that engagement.
Yeah, and I had the benefit. I have two daughters. They're 20 right now, 20 and 18.
Right.
And so my thought was, if I got their attention, then I'm getting it, because
Right.
to your point, this generation is very very different.
We consume content a lot different than now.
Absolutely. And even we see that in entertainment. Like there's this crossroads, like how do people consume, content? And even when you look at what's happening with theatrical,
Right.
They're trying to figure out, how do we turn the theatrical viewing into an experience, right?
Yes.
Because some people are like, well, why would I go to the theater? I can just watch it at home. And we saw it with even the Barbenheimer phenomenon.
Yeah.
It couldn't just be go watch Barbie, go watch Oppenheimer. It turned into some kind of engaging event. We're gonna dress up.
Right.
We're gonna post about
The
it.
social aspect of it, the
Exactly.
community aspect of
There
it,
you
to engage with the theater
Mm-hmm.
experience.
All right,
Let's now go back to
hold
your
on.
career.
Yeah, let's go back to your career. So we're transitioning. We're at a moment of 2 years of nothing. What are you doing in this time? Are you going through a midlife crisis?
Man.
Are you like
Yeah.
Man.
What's going
telling
on?
the truth?
Let's look under the hood.
Man.
How do you get through that and give some people some some insights when they're at that stage of crisis and they're at that moment of rock bottom?
I
And
guess-
how do you build yourself back up?
waiting
and
period.
especially at 40.
Man, I don't know how much time y'all got.
Please give us a game plan.
No, I'm telling you, it was the darkest time of my life.
Right.
In my particular denomination, I was good at what I did.
Right.
And to go from there
Yeah.
to at the bottom.
Yeah.
And there was a couple things that were happening. I realized something, that part of me had attached my purpose to my career.
Ooh.
So when I lost my career, I felt I lost my purpose.
Yeah.
So not only do I not, have a job at this time, but I don't have purpose. And so the immediate thing that I started to do, because I get income, right? And God's whole point in this whole thing, honestly, was you got to learn to trust me.
Yeah.
So he wasn't going to give it to me like that. Because if he did, then I don't trust.
Right.
So I'm in the delay. So the first thing I did is I called one of my boys, and he was another pastor somewhere. I said, man, we were tight. He gave me a position at his church immediately as the media pastor. And about 3 months in, he pulls me aside and was like, bro, this ain't working.
Really? Why?
Yeah, and this is what's crazy. This was crazy. I'm like, we talking about this ain't working. Like,
Right.
I know I'm good, good at what I do. And he said, this is not in alignment with what I know God has for you.
Wow.
He said, so if you stay here, you just gonna keep being in the wrong assignment and out of alignment. And I know you ain't gonna leave because this is too comforting for you.
Right.
So I'm not firing you, but I'm shutting down this position. And so I left, and I'm like, God, what am I gonna do? What am I do? Because I'm in this like I got the income. I don't know what I'm still trying to get it. I'm still applying to different places, but it's not coming through. So I end up working at Amazon, bro.
What? At 40.
40, bro. Delivery service provider. Somebody I knew said, hey, come manage my delivery service provider. Now I want to tell you something, y'all.
Right.
I'm just gonna keep it real.
Keep it real.
I got 2 degrees.
Yeah.
Right.
I got masters, bachelors,
Right.
and I've been doing high level leadership.
Yeah.
And I was showing up to work with shorts, Amazon hat, and the vest. And
That's painful though.
bro, because I had the title manager,
Right.
but bro, I'm stacking boxes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
filling up delivery trucks,
Yeah.
and driving some of these trucks and things like that. And I'm just like, God, what's going on? And even in the midst of that, I had some opportunities that were coming up. I'd applied for this position at the Oscar Museum, Academy of Arts and Science Museum, community outreach. I just knew I was about to get that joint on the job. I get the email. Sorry.
Wow.
Now I'm throwing my phone. I'm like, God, what are you doing?
Right.
Another opportunity comes. I get an opportunity, Chick-fil-A, right? Community engagement, VP of community engagement.
Nice.
I make it all the way to the final round. I'm on my prayer walk. Email. Sorry, bro.
Went in a different direction.
Looking for a different direction. Disney, applied to like 5 or 7 different positions there. No after no after no after no after no.
So the rejection is piling up. How are you feeling? How you're dealing with that?
I gotta be honest, like, and very transparent. I wasn't. There was a moment where I said, God, you must not be with me. This must be punishment for the bad decisions I made. I remember one day I took all my Bibles out my house and I was just like, God, I'm done. And then after about a couple days of that, I remember going on another walk. It wasn't a prayer walk this time. I was like, I ain't talking to you. It's just a walk. And then it just kind of hit me. There was this text in the Bible in John where Jesus, says this very strong statement, and the Bible says, allow his disciples walk with him no more. Then it says, Jesus turned to the 12 and said, will you go also? And Peter looks at him and says, Lord, to where shall we go? Like, you got words of life. And I remember that moment, I was like, God, like, where else am I gonna go? Like, I can't leave you. And I said, I'm not gonna let you off the hook. I said, you gotta take care of me.
Yeah.
It was probably 2 weeks later, because I already at that time had applied to participant. Hadn't heard from him at all. Friday night, the oddest hour, of the night, the recruiter calls me from participant and says, do you have 15 minutes?
Wow.
Now, here's the point. I didn't know that interview was coming,
Right.
but I've been preparing for it.
Right.
Because all of the rejection, all the studying and things that I have been going through all these other processes prepared me for this one. So then that put me on the trajectory to applying for participant. I applied for the manager position. And midway through the interview process, I get this call from them and they were like, you know what? We've been looking at your, resume. We've appreciated, there's like 3 interviews in, but you're overqualified for the manager position.
Really?
And I was thinking like, God, here we go.
Go.
Like I'm about to get another one dropped.
Let's go on that walk again.
This one's gonna be a run. But they said, but we want to see if you could take some time to think about if you'd be interested in continuing to interview for the VP. And I said, I don't need to take any more time. Yes, let's do that. And so obviously, long story short, I was able to get here. I was down to my last month of bills. And right then I got the offer. So
how do you listen to God's voice when you're at your last line? Like when you're there, it's just, you just got to put all faith in.
That's what it was. Like at the end of the day, I said, I've heard from you. I know that I'm on the right path. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I'm just trusting you with it. Right. Like unapologetic, like to the point I'm not even going to worry about it. And that's what I did. And I'm saying he waited to the last moment, but I can tell you what came out of that is can't nothing happen that would make me not believe that he's going to take,
I think that's how God works. He tests your limits and show you that your limits is way greater than you think.
Exactly. And I'd never been tested. I got to be honest, like I had never been tested like that before. So,
and I think also it's a development period. It's when God is building you up, building you characteristics. What do you think you learned from that experience? Is it like you learn character building, you learn staying still ability?
Give us some details.
Yeah, everything. But no, I think there's a couple things very specifically that I learned. You have to fall in love with the process. You can't be so attached to the results,
right? Because
every time you're attached to the results, if they don't turn out the way that you want them to, then you look at everything, I think, in a mixed up, type of way. I learned to love the process of sitting down and talking to recruiters. I learned to love the process of getting ready for an interview. I love to learn, I learned to love the process of studying everything there is to know about Chick-fil-A, learning everything there is to know about Disney and how they work, everything there is to know about Participant, all the other places I interviewed with, because it was that love of the process that when the rejection came, I was like, I'm good.
Right.
There came a point I was like, that's fine, because I got something from this process. And I think some of us are too married to the results. And when you're too married to the results, you forget that this thing is really about the journey and the things you bring out of the journey. The other thing that I've learned is, and I love how Michael B. Jordan says this, no simply means next opportunity. And sometimes, and we've heard this cliche before, but it's really true, rejection is actually not just redirection, but it's protection. I applied for 7 positions at Disney. Got rejected every single time. When I'm at Participant, remember Disney does all these layoffs.
Yeah.
every single position I applied for
Wasn't part of the
wasn't
layoff.
part of the layoffs.
Wow.
And I'm sitting here saying, if I had gotten one of those, I would have been
Right back.
right back, and not even had a year under my belt.
Mm-hmm.
So the rejection was also protection and redirection, so I could be exactly where, I am. So I learned to embrace that. And then also the other thing I've learned is I gained so many different relationships from the people I was just interacting with in going through the process. So I think if you can learn to fall in love with the process, if you can understand that the no is redirecting you to where that ultimate yes is going to be, and more than likely protecting you from something, and then developing relationships along the way, I think you'll be gold.
That's amazing.
That's beautiful.
So you land VP of Impact, a participant, your first assignment, first day on the job. How do you feel? And like, what is
I guess it's a fresh breath.
Yeah, yeah, you know what you're trying to say. But like, what is your overall overreaching goal? Do you like set your goals in mind, or do you say, okay, this is where I'm at now, and where do you drive the car next?
Yeah, so I got to tell you, there was this overwhelm, like, I can't believe I'm here.
Yeah, right.
Like, we did it, like, like, God,
Sigh of relief.
we're here, right? Like, God, I can't believe I'm here. But I got to tell you, like Drake says in Pound Cake with Jay-Z, but I'm not just happy to be here. Right. Like, I'm not, I'm here, cool.
Yeah.
Like, no, we're here to do work. And so the biggest thing that was very important for me is to understand, okay, how does participant work? Like, what do they do, and how do they approach, entertainment and filmmaking and stuff? And so I'm just a sponge naturally. And so I wanted to soak up, everything. And to be honest, I got the best way I learned is throw me in the deep end. I'm gonna figure out, how to swim. And of course, we got lifeguards there, to help. But that was really it for me. Just excited, happy, but like, let's get to work. And I dove right in, so. And
how did you navigate? So they throw you right into the deep end, and now you're navigating the spaces of Hollywood. This is entertainment. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of different agendas thrown at you. How do you stay grounded in your faith and also navigating these new spaces that you're in?
Yeah, so one of the things I think is important anytime you navigate a new space, I think it's great when you have examples who have navigated that space before. And so the very first day at my church, I got to go back there.
Okay.
Foundation work.
Yeah, there it is, right? The first day I'm pastoring this church, one of my new members comes up to me and says, "Hey, pastor, you got to meet this dude." I'm like, "Yo, I'm going to meet everybody." They said, no, you got to meet him right now. I said, "Okay." And so this brother comes up to me, sharp, put together, real cool, down to earth. And he says, "Pastor, I want you to meet Devon Franklin." And so I was like, okay, now I don't know, who Devon is or anything like that. He's our pastor, come, let's get lunch. And so he's like, give me your email, I'll send you the email. And so he sends me the email, and there's all these instructions on like, go here, tell us to the gate, show you. I'm like, who is this dude, right? And so I go to the Sony lot, and I turn to my thing, and long story short, I sit down and I find out he's this executive at Sony who's produced, these different films, and he's in entertainment, but he's also at my church. And from that moment on, we didn't just become best friends, we became brothers.
Yeah.
So I had a front row seat to seeing how a Christian navigates this space of entertainment. And all the events, that we would go to, the different things, even some things we collaborated on, it was such a blessing for me to see how he's well respected, how he's loved, and still authentic to who he is. And so being able to just have that brother in my life made it very easy for me to transition, because I'd seen, number one, how it'd been done. The second thing, though, is spirituality, faith, Christianity, that whole thing is not something that you do. No. It's who you are.
100%.
And so because it's who I am, when I show up into these spaces, I'm going to be me.
Right.
And who I am is fueled by, my belief system and my values, which I don't shove down anybody's throat. I'm just going to be who I am, and that's going to come through the authentic part of who I am. So that was just so extremely helpful to do that. And I think people respect that more. I hate when we have church life, entertainment life, personal life.
Yeah. They put everything into a box.
It's all these different boxes, and what actually happens is you end up becoming three different people.
Wow.
And
can you elaborate that a little bit more? You come three different people when you put everything into a box. how do people put themselves? How do you know you put yourself into these boxes?
Yeah, I think when I'm trying to cater to the environment that I'm in, that's how I know it's turned into a box. So, all right, I'm in the entertainment space. Let me have this kind of conversation. Kind of be. Is it easy?
No, we were
Y'all just talking
driving
about
here.
that? No,
Driving here
no.
today. I
There's
promise you, we had
context.
a conversation
context.
this morning.
There's
So okay,
There's ways
sidebar.
of navigating
Okay, so me and
conversations
Joel,
in certain areas.
we're talking about success, and we're like,
Yeah.
we're getting to a point where, okay, there might be some success later down the line. And he
there
was
will
talking about
Will be. Yeah, speak that thing.
right? Will be. And how do we, one, protect who we are, but also be in the cogwheel of Hollywood, right? And I was saying to him, I was like, no, we stand on the ground of who we are, no matter what. Even if we offend somebody because of who we are. He's like, no. If you're in the system, you play the game. And I was like, there's no game.
It's not a
in
game. It's
Hollywood.
navigating conversations, right?
But
You
he's
don't
like,
spew
you gotta reserve
hatred
your
or
words. I was like, you can't reserve your words. You gotta be who
he's
you
taking
are.
all my stuff out of context. It just all he does is trying to find confirmation biases. But all I was saying, you navigating conversation. You just don't just say whatever past trauma, especially our father's a little bit older generation. So how he talks and how he explains the word, because my dad was a pastor.
My dad's
as well.
a pastor as well.
Okay, okay.
And
So he was a Southern
He was
Baptist
Southern Baptist.
pastor.
Yeah.
So we
So-
grew up in the church and we learned how, how to be foundational, a Christian leader or
Right.
just a Christian believer in that particular essence. And we have these set of beliefs and we stay strong on these beliefs. It's like standing on business. You stand on the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my brother
Sometimes it can lean to a language where it feels hatred to somebody. So I always tell my brothers just articulate it more with love. That's why I was saying navigating that conversation with love.
Yeah, and I definitely understand a little bit of the tension. Here's where I would rewind back. Where I think we run into issues, particularly say with people of faith, is we try to push that into the spaces we're in, as opposed to letting it naturally come out how we just live our lives. So for example, if I have a certain belief and I'm in a conversation with somebody and they have a differing belief, I don't need to in that moment. Well, the word says. Well, why would I don't need to do that?
Become argumentative for no reason.
It's like for no reason. Like the way that I believe my faith really shows up in the authentic self in all of the different spaces, because it's me, is I love what Jesus says when he's like, they will know that you are my disciples by the love that you have for one another.
100%.
And so my thing is, like, if I'm out at an event, you're gonna feel my love. Like, we're gonna have conversations.
Right.
If you say something that I don't agree with, I don't have to be combative in that.
Exactly.
We're gonna, have a good, engaging conversation. But I think the important thing is I want to be my authentic self, which is a person of faith in every aspect of my life. Because God isn't a part of my life; He is my life.
Right.
And so that's gonna come out in ways that are going to be appropriate for folks. Like I don't preach to people, man. Like I don't do that. My lifestyle and how I live, you're gonna be like, something different about this dude. Like Mike is, when everyone else might be tripping at meetings, he's calm. He's got a positive energy. Now, some people might call that positivity. For me, it's confidence, right? Some people might say, he learns how to, he seems like he doesn't really fold under pressure. Well, that's just because I trust God a little differently. So those things are going to come out without me having to put a text behind it or, that kind of thing. And I think with the older generation, I think sometimes they feel if I don't connect it directly to the word, if I don't connect it directly to church, no one's going to know.
100%.
I'm just planting seeds, bro.
Yes.
Like, my job
Let God
isn't
do
to
the
water.
watering. Let
And that's
God
what
do
I'm
the
saying. I'm
work.
just planting seeds. And you might not even know where those seeds come from.
Yes.
But I'm planting seeds.
100%.
All right. Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, let's just go back to the daily tasks of participant.
Yeah.
And what do you do daily?
Yeah, so on a daily basis, what my specific job is here, at Participant, we have with our films what we call the fourth act. And that is moving people from the seats to the streets. So the mission of Participant is a good story well told can change the world. And so I think there's two components to that. The first is a good story. What's huge for us at Participant is the films that we do have to be entertaining. They have to be engaging. People have to see our films, right? And you don't want to see something that's not good.
And the same correlation of just preaching and giving the word, just like we was talking earlier.
Yeah. Like you want something that the audience is going to say, I want to watch this.
Yes.
But I want to tell my friends, you know,
Yes.
to watch it.
100%.
And I think participants done a good job with that. You know, over 80 Academy Award nominations, over, 20 plus wins, Best Picture twice, Best Director. And, they've done incredible films, When They See Us, Judas and the Black Messiah, Contagion, Spotlight. I mean, they've got incredible films that are absolutely entertaining.
Right.
But then there's another part of that statement, good story, well told, can change the world.
Right.
And so alongside of our films, we have what are called impact campaigns. And so what that is we want to figure out how after you watch a film, you're inspired to action, right? Like after you sit down and watch something like An Inconvenient Truth, or you sat down and watch, When They See Us, you're like, what do I do? Or Just Mercy. You see something about the criminal justice system. So what we want to do is design in collaboration with partners in that space of whether it's civic engagement or whether it's environmental justice. How do we develop a campaign that goes alongside with the film where we can work with partners that gives people who've watched our films an opportunity to participate in solving the issue that film's talked about. So the beautiful thing that I get to do is I get to work with incredible different organizations, government, non-NGOs, nonprofits, all that kind of stuff, NGOs, nonprofits, along with filmmakers to see how can we create this incredible campaign that can uplift the film, which in turn will help uplift these organizations.
Wow, that's their mission. I've never seen other production companies ever.
Because it's not. That's what it was founded on.
Wow.
Jeff Skoll, our founder, said he believes that storytelling is the best way to change hearts and minds.
Yes.
And so that's what we do.
Now, you get into this position, like, what are some of the challenges that you face when you're taking on this particular type of role?
I think just particularly when I came into the industry, I mean, just off COVID, going into a strike, so I think those were just some of the, natural, of course, challenges. And then just navigating, some of these spaces because we aren't just only putting out entertaining and engaging films. And again, I can't stress how important that is because for us, the art comes first. But also then having to navigate the space of social change.
Yeah.
Like that's hard, man.
Yeah.
When you're, because our films are going to challenge the way, people look at a certain subject. One of our films that we did, the first film I had a chance to work on, which is on Netflix, we partnered with Higher Ground, of course, and Netflix on a documentary called Descendant. And it's about the last slave ship that came to America and the descendants of the slaves of that ship and how they live in Africatown in Mobile, Alabama. And they're dealing with environmental injustice there, where there's all this industry that's pumping pollution into these, Black, neighborhoods. And so when you have to deal with environmental justice, that's a challenge, trying to figure out, how we can allow our film to support this community because they've trusted us with their story. And so how do we create a campaign that helps them, fight these battles that the documentary really talks through and talks about? So
Well, that's a lot of work.
It is. And your heart has to be in it. But
Yeah.
for me, in my career, I was like,
This is your mission.
this is it.
This is a problem I can solve.
Yeah, this is part of the reason I believe I was put on this planet. So
As you see, Hollywood is going to a shifting of change, and a lot of studios and production companies they are going to layoffs. They're downsizing their budgets. What do you think the state of Hollywood right now, as it is, where do you think it's going?
I think obviously we know the transition, and I think if you look through the history of Hollywood, anytime a new concept comes out, whether it was going from radio to TV,
Yep.
VHS or
Color to the
Internet.
all those things, internet now, you've got streaming. I think those are always moments where the industry experiences what are we going to do? But then the incredible people that are in our industry figure it out.
100%.
And I think what we just need to learn to do is to hold on to, the wave. And I know it's tough for all those people that have experienced all these different layoffs and, things like that. But if you can hold on and shift with it and be a part of that shift and don't be so rigid in, nope, it's always got to be like this.
100%.
That's where I think we can, start to see
Learning
some
to
success.
educate about the future.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things I would tell to anybody, read,
Right.
about everything you can about the industry, not just your section of the industry, but what are the trends so you can be ahead, see how other people are thinking and things
How
like
do
that.
you stay how do you stay one step ahead of of the competition, or basically where you at now?
Yeah, so for me personally, I read and I connect and network with every single person that I can. I don't think that there's a person I can't learn from. I don't care if you're an executive assistant, if you are the CEO of a company. If I have an opportunity to sit down and talk to you, I want to talk to you, because everyone has a unique experience at their different places in the industry. One of the things that helped me, I think, prepare for where I am now is I would jump on LinkedIn and I'm DMing everybody.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just like, and I'm not asking for, yo, give me a job or put me on.
Right.
I'm like, yo, can you just tell me your story?
Yeah.
And when people sat down and tell me their story, I got to understand how they think, what they understand about the industry, their experiences. And so now I'm learning from the people who are in the business affairs part, I'm learning from people on the content side, people on the marketing side, communication side, just the people who do scheduling, PAs. I just want to learn, because now I get all these different pieces that come together. And so now when I start seeing things happen in the industry, oh, I remember so-and-so was telling me about that. I remember that. So it was important. And of course, reading all the trades. And
me and brother own a self-tape company. We see actors every day come in here and doing auditions, but they only stay in their one realm. They don't know about the other side, pretty much the executive side, the business side of how the entertainment is shifting. And all they see is the microcosm of like, I just got to get a job, I got to audition, and then hopefully I get an audition, I make money from it. I wanted you to talk about parallel movement, that learning about duality of both sides, and also navigating your career, such as you navigating on your business as a VP of the global impact.
This impact. VP of impact. I mean, it sounds cool, but VP of impact.
It's gonna be global impact. Processing make them like, you know what? We need to change this title. Global impact. That's what our movies do.
They do now. They do. Dark artists.
I always preach a little bit about parallel movement, learning both sides of the industry. How do you navigate these waters of learning both sides of the industry? Like you just said, you mentioned you learn from PAs, other people, but not only your job, but you're learning other people's jobs as well.
Yeah, so I think the beautiful thing about my particular position at Participant, I actually get to work with a plethora of the industry. When you put together, a campaign, there's a lot of different components to it. So I have to work with filmmakers. I have to work with film subjects. I get to work with, different parts of our business affairs. I have to work, with, these different organizations. I have to work sometimes with government, nonprofits, all that. So in order for me to effectively understand how marketing works or how communication works, I need to learn how to speak your language. So when I'm putting together a strategy, I want to make sure that my marketing team understands that I understand what your responsibilities are to this and how you put together. In order to do that, I got to know you. I got to ask you, hey, how do you approach this film from a marketing perspective with your mindset, given these parameters and constraints? And so that's what I just think we need to do a little bit more. And if you don't have that incredible intersection like I do, then again, network with these people, talk with them, set up the meetings, reach out so you can understand that. Because when you then walk into different rooms, and let's say you're an actor, I'm not. But if you understand the business side, when you walk into a room and they start talking certain language, maybe unfortunately trying to run something over on you, be like, nah, that's not how that goes. Because I've been in that space. I've talked to these people and I know they need to go a different way.
I think relationships and networking becomes your greatest resource. You yourself became a product of that. So how do you reach out to someone and have a conversation without becoming jaded, or someone like saying he might need something from me, or how do you navigate those
that preconceived thought of them like rejecting you already?
Yeah, so the first thing I would say, and I can't stress this enough for anybody who's trying to get in the industry or even navigate it, this thing is about relationships. Like I cannot stress that enough. People have to really enjoy working with you. If you're a jerk, if you're somebody that just doesn't know how to connect with people, there was a time I think folk got away with that, but I think today people have to just like being in your presence and being around you. Number one, so work on your relationship skills. The networking part, I found people can tell when you're hungry or not. They can tell when you're thirsty, when that message is, nah, you just trying to get a script to me or something like that. So I think you need to be very genuine in yourself first. I genuinely just want to get to know this person. And the byproduct of that really could be something that is going to end up benefiting you. But if you go in with that mentality, people can see through that immediately, particularly ones who have been in this industry, for a while. And I've been very fortunate that my genuine understanding was, how did you do this?
Yeah.
And when people saw that, they were like, because I see that you're genuine, now I'm going to connect you with things. Because I know you're not just out here trying to play games. But one thing I would say that's very practical to do when you do network with somebody, the last question you ask them is there anybody else that you think who's in your network, it would be great for me to connect with and learn from as well?
Spiderweb effect.
There you go. And then when they connect you with that person, you ask that same question. So you're always constantly being connected to different individuals. But again, not coming from that thirsty aspect,
Right.
but a genuine curiosity. What's your journey like?
Yeah.
And it's super helpful. I gained mentors that way. So it was great.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No.
Faith in the workplace. How do you implement your particular faith in the workplace without becoming super overbearing?
Yeah, so I think the biggest word for me that has helped with my faith, particularly in the workplace, is authenticity. I'm going to show up authentically as Michael. Michael happens to be a believer. Michael happens to be a person of faith. What that also means is Michael has had trauma.
Right.
What that also means is Michael is not perfect.
Yeah.
Michael doesn't have it all together. So you're going to get the authentic, version of me. And the reason I think that's so important, for our faith, and particularly how we show up, is I love what one of my boys says, Marquise, Jesus cannot save the person you pretend to be. He can only save the person you are. Jesus can't change the person you pretend to be. He can only change the person you are. And so I got to show up as who I am in Christ. And that's just going to be super authentic. And I think what that's allowed people, at least in my workspace, to see is they see a flawed Michael, but they also see a Michael grow from those flaws.
Right.
They see a Michael who sometimes gets discouraged, but then a Michael who turns around and is encouraged. And they know that that source of change and encouragement and growth might come from a different foundation than theirs is, but they see that I'm authentically living up to that. And that's inspiring for them. And I think that's inspiring for folks. So be authentic, man. Like, not this pretentious, oh, everything's gonna be all right.
Yeah,
Sometimes I'm like, man, what we gonna do? Right. But then I get centered. And people get to see that experience and that growth. So
What about faith in business? Because sometimes in business, you got to make very quick decisions, and somebody might feel left out, and they'll be like, oh, I thought he was going to look out for me because he's a person of faith. How do you deal with that?
Yes.
Well, sometimes, and I deal with it this way, like, yeah, I'm a person of faith, and we fall down. And we fall down. Just man falls 7 times.
Yes, sir.
Gets back up again. So like, I'm not gonna get this thing right all the time. I got blind spots. I'm gonna forget about you. I don't have this intentional spirit of trying to hurt you.
Yeah, of course.
But when I do, call me to the carpet. I'm not gonna try to justify, my bad decisions. I'm not gonna be like, well, now what's wrong with you? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm one of those who know I do that. Man, I do that all the time at work.
Yeah.
One of the most freeing things for me is I remember, my boss was like, yo, we mess up 12 times every single day.
Wow.
The problem is that we don't learn from it, or we try and cover it up, or we don't, admit to it and then get better next time. So.
Now, navigating this entertainment industry can be very consuming. Just trying to do work and balancing your career. How do you find balance now?
Between your personal life and business.
Your spiritual life and your business.
So again, I've been transparent, this whole time. I'm still trying to figure that out. This has been the most demanding, experience, that I've had. The industry moves fast.
Yes.
Yep.
Especially when you got multiple films, coming out that you're working on, and there's strong accountability. Like if you don't like being held accountable and checked in on and make sure you on point, this ain't for you. And this is that position and that job that is not 9 to 5. It's when it's done.
Yeah.
Say that again.
It's when it's done.
Yeah.
Now, it's also that way for me,
Right.
because now is the time for me to be overly focused. Like I take what we do very serious. Like I said before, I'm not just happy to be here. I want to be incredible. I want to be amazing. Everything I do, I want to do with excellence. And I believe that's why God allowed me to be here.
Right.
So I'm blessed that my daughters are 20 and 18.
Yeah.
So they're not, little ones, but I do need to do better at, finding that balance. Part of me is just, I'm an achiever. I want to do well. I want to make my mark here in this industry. And so I'm after that. So, I need to get back to my, my routines. I'm also, working on a book, right now, take 2. And I'm just really excited about that. So I got a lot going on, but it's interesting. I'm at this phase in my life where I think I have space to do that. And so I think what everyone has to do is figure out the pace of life, because your pace of life is different.
Yeah.
My pace of life in my 20s was different than it is in my, now in my 40s. And because I've got this opportunity,
Gone.
I'm going, because I can't believe I got it. And I'm not going to squander that away. So if it means a little less sleep, I think that's okay.
Right.
If it means a little less, being able to get on my sticks and, play my games or whatever, that's fine. But health-wise, gotta stay in the gym. I gotta do those things because I want to be here long enough to make my money.
What do you do for you? After the work is done, what do you do for you?
Yeah, so the gym is my thing. Unfortunately, I tore my meniscus, so I got to have a second surgery. But I do a lot of Brazilian jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, Filipino martial arts. So that's like my jam, and that gets me just in a completely different zone. I read, love to read. Me and my girls, we love to go to Disney, and we just hang out. We eat good foods. Also I play video games. Like unapologetically, that's my.
That's how you clock out.
Get at it. Yeah, I'm just in that world.
Yeah.
So those are the things I do, and I do try and make some time for that.
I do want to ask one more question, more personal question. How you balance relationships, seeking out, finding a partner, especially older.
Let's go into that
a little bit. How you navigating relationships in 2024?
Yeah, so my boo right now.
Oh, okay. We still vibe. What up, boo?
Yeah.
Shout out, boo.
Yep. Christina, which from October 2020, even before, like, just been riding with me, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like, when I was at that low, she was like, "Let's go."
Yeah.
And if you're dating somebody and they have a job and you which I didn't at the time, it'd be easy for them to be like, well, you know what, either bounce or be like, Starbucks is, high, nothing against, nothing against Starbucks. You got to do what you got to do. But what I loved is she wouldn't let me give up on my dream.
Wow.
And so to me, it's not like a balance with that, because she's part of my life. Like that's, like we in this thing together, all the way together.
In 2020, it's so hard to choose the right partner, because especially in LA, everyone's so selfish. Everyone has their own particular agenda. How did you choose the right partner right now for this particular moment?
Well, in what was funny is we got together before, all this, and even in my transition. But I just wanted. Here's a big thing for me: you can't be with somebody that respects your values, particularly your core values. You have to be with someone who shares your values. Because if I'm with someone who respects my values, they could be like, yo, I respect that, but there might come a point where they don't. But if we have shared core values, then I don't have to worry about how to live out those values together.
Right.
Because we share them and we'll hold each other accountable to them. And so, she and I, we share core values. And so one of the things that really drew me and what has kept us is our core value of, how we support one another, how we love one another, how we navigate life together. That's just been, tremendous for me. So.
And how do you overcome challenges with your particular partner? Maybe you guys have some sort of disagreements, or, maybe she, like, you're not spending enough time with me. What does that look like for you? Especially for me in my personal relationships, I had never dedicated enough time to my particular partners, because I'm always like, I gotta get the goal. I gotta achieve my success, because I'm still young, I can do it. And if I set myself up, or if I get to this and then I have enough time to do that, is that healthy or is that unhealthy?
Yeah, I think here's the thing. What I think is important for couples to do, particularly who are, because she's very, like, she just got this, shout out to her, this incredible position at Stanford Medical Center.
Oh, wow.
And that's like,
huge.
It's huge. Like, that's huge. And so what I think is unique is, because we both are these vision-oriented people, what we've done is we've created what we like to call, and Gottman calls these love maps together. And it's these maps that say, this is what we want to do with our lives. This is how we support each other in it. These are the goals, hopes, and dreams that we have. And here's how we get there. And so because we understand that, when there are those moments of, man, we're grinding here or grinding there, part of us understands like, well, yeah, because we agreed that this is where we're all trying to go.
The destination.
This is the destination for us. And we're talking about career-wise.
Right.
And because we understand that, we support each other in that. And what actually ends up happening is that support actually turns into time with one another, right? So, but we hold each other accountable, right? Like you have to just be like, hey, when you are not spending enough time, hey, we need to spend more time.
Yeah.
And just say that. It doesn't have to be a thing. Oh, you're right. Okay, well, this is what my schedule looks like, which is what, and you go from there. Healthy conflict, I think, is good for couples to have. And healthy conflict really meaning like we can disagree, but be agreeable. We're gonna attack the problem together and not each other.
Right.
And so I think when you have all those different kind of components and you understand the vision where you're gonna go, I think you have a really good match there. So.
How you do feel about personal fulfillment? I talked about like, okay, I have to achieve this, and then all my dreams and aspirations will come true. And if once you achieve this, is it an ongoing cycle? It's almost like a hamster wheel where you're always chasing that particular goal. Is that particularly a way to kind of look at life?
Yeah, so I look at it more like the journey is more important than the destination. And so while I know that there are goals that we can achieve, say, hey, I get this and I got that, I really look at life as just one big journey that you're constantly accomplishing things on the way. But if we are looking at it as, oh, I've got to get to that one thing, that one destination, I think that's where you start to look at it with a little with a jaded sense. Because then if you never get there, you feel like a complete failure.
100%.
And then when you do get there, I think you can feel a little overinflated, like, yeah, I got it. But if you're like, nah, life is constantly me figuring out how to navigate this journey and constantly growing and expanding along the way, then you'll constantly be in a place of growth. And I think that keeps it from not looking like a hamster wheel, but more of an evolution of who I am as a person and leaving my mark just every step and every space that I enter along the journey.
And how do you be an influence for your kids if that's your particular outlook? How do you like say, hey, look, this is what I'm doing and I'm building all these foundations? And do you want them to kind of follow in your same footsteps? Or do you like, hey, this is what I'm doing, but you have to do something totally different that's particularly just for you? Yeah,
so it's definitely that. Like both my girls, my oldest is a junior in college. And it was so funny. Wow. She was on The Voice.
Wow.
Yes, yeah. I think it was season 20 is when she was on The Voice. And so, there's a part like, oh, she gonna do that. But she liked The Voice, but she wants to be a psychiatrist, right? And she loves, that aspect of the mind and things. And so they don't have to follow what I want to do. My youngest, she wants to go into pediatrics. And so I'm absolutely not a doctor. Absolutely not. The book smarts and stuff like that, that wasn't necessarily, me. Like I did well in school, but it's, not like they're just like on a different level. What I want them to take from me though is, and this is one of the things I loved about what happened to me. It was crazy. The worst day of my life when I got let go actually turned into the best day of my life because I wouldn't be here today if that hadn't happened, because I wouldn't have had the guts to have walked away and pursued my dream. Right. So what I want my girls to see is dad lost everything, but then in his 40s was able to accomplish his dream.
Wow.
That's what I want them to see, that I never gave up, that no matter how tough it got, no matter how difficult the moments were, dad went out there and got it. And they had a front row seat. They weren't 2, they weren't 6 and kind of not understanding. Right. They knew
exactly what was
happening. You have your kids young when you were young. How did you navigate that?
I did.
In your early 20s.
Early 20s, bro. Yeah, early 20s.
That was a different time.
It was a different time. Yeah, it was a much different time.
You got a little bit of money back then.
Yeah, it was a much different time, man. Rent for my apartment early when I was married to my wife at the time, it was like $400 a month for like a two bedroom in Michigan, bro. So I was like, we good.
Wow, y'all real good.
Yeah,
You could have a couple more kids.
So too good. Amazing good.
So you're naturally evolving as a human being. What do you see yourself doing next?
Yeah, Next for me is I want people to experience what I experienced. And here's what I mean by that. I was sitting there, I remember where I'm at participant, I'm living my dream. Y'all, I gotta tell you, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Like real talk. Like, relationship with my girls,
Right.
Relationship with my girl, relationship with, with Tia, the girl's mother. Like we just good, my career. It's just great. Me and God, like we just locked in right now.
I want to hear the coolest Hollywood story that you got. Like you went to the Oscars, you went to the, so many award shows, so many events, so many spaces. What would you say like, wow, I made it. Oh, I am here.
Yeah. So I want to tell you the coolest, it's kind of two of them.
Okay.
It was cool, but it was also so important. So it might not be as cool, even though there were cool moments in it, but it was so important. This is when I was, unemployed, trying to figure out, like I knew where I wanted to go, but I was still on the way to getting there. And so Devon, again, that's my brother.
Yeah.
So, he and I are constantly talking, we're texting, he's encouraging, helping me get mindset right and stuff like that. And so out of nowhere one day, he was like, hey man, what you doing on, Sunday, whatever. So chilling. You want to come to the Oscars with me? It's like,
I'm gonna text Devon right now. Never get invited on there.
He was like, yo, you want to go to the Oscars? I was like, yeah, man, like that's great. So I go to, get my tux. I go there, and there's a couple things that happen in that moment. I'm blown away, and it's not because of the celebrity, right? Like I've been around a lot of different folk, but it was surrounded by people who are living their dream. They were doing it, and they were at the pinnacle of, a lot of people would say in entertainment,
success,
of this award ceremony where they are nominated for the work that they've done, the dreams that they've done. And so talking to legends like, Steven Spielberg and, connecting, with, Angela like talking to these folks and just knowing that, man, y'all are here, you're doing it. And I'm having a great time. But the coolest part about it was Devon pulled me to the side afterwards and he's like, I want to tell you why I brought you here. He said, I wanted you to be in the space that one day you're going to occupy. I want you to see what this looks like because you going to be here. Wow. Do y'all know what that did for me? Wow. I was like, oh, let's rock, let's roll.
Yeah.
So that was just such a beauty. Like that was a thing because it wasn't just fun. Of course, you get to dress up, you take, cool pictures, but it was like this confirmation that I'm heading on the right track. And it's speaking those things that are not that as if they were. And then most recently, we went to, Governor's Awards. We had a chance to hang out there. And one of the things that I'm struggling with and still trying to grow into is, confidence. Like, God put me here, so I want to be more confident.
Right.
And one of the things I think is the cool stories about being in the spaces I've been is not just because, again, it's fun and you get to meet all these incredible people, but saying, if you're in the room, you're supposed to be there. Now act like it.
Yeah.
But wait, I'm not so-and-so. If you're in the room, you're supposed to be there. So act like it. Don't be timid when you talk to folk and do all that. So that was like a really cool, experience. To be a part of those moments, seeing people at the pinnacle of their dreams, and then have it rub off, on you, and then you turn around, and now I'm in the industry. So that was just great. So that was cool for me.
All right, one piece of advice that someone gave you that still you use on your daily basis.
Like in general or specifically?
Oh, just in general in life.
I think general life, but I've seen it most in the space I'm in now with entertainment. So one of my mentors, when I told him, you got this new position, he was just like, oh man, that's great. He's like, but I want to tell you something. He's like, you're going to be around a lot of different folks and they're going to seem, very powerful, and they are. He says, but I don't want you to be impressed, not in some kind of arrogant way, but I don't want you to be intimidated. He's all because on a daily basis, you speak with the creator of the universe. Ooh. So he said, when you walk into a room, when you sit at a table, of course, there's respect for the position and stuff that they do, but don't ever be like, because your awe came that morning.
Right.
When you were in the space with you and the author and finisher of your faith. And so when you got that audience, anything else, you
beneath you.
have confidence. You know, yeah, obviously we come with confidence, you know, with the foundation of humility.
Right.
So I'm not saying, you know, I'm not one of those, well, I don't care who you are at this studio because I've talked to God. I'm not talking like from that perspective.
Yeah.
But what that does is it allows you to be your authentic self, have confidence at these tables, and when you speak with people, because it's like, yeah, I just finished talking to our creator.
Right.
So, you know, we good.
We good. Yeah, 100%. No insecurities here.
Yeah, no insecurities here. Like we good.
All right, total unorthodox question. Do you think we're in the last days?
Man, look, you must have looked up the denomination I used to work for, brother. That's like one of them questions, man. You know,
They've been the last days for the last 2,000 years.
yeah. So here's how I always say this, and even when I was, you know, preaching at my church, here's how I always would say this, man. You know, memento mori. Today you could die. That's how I look at the last days. Today could be my last day. You know, I know there's signs of the times and stuff, and I'm not trying to like avoid the question, but I seriously think from my experience, people have been saying, like, you know, Jesus talks about Matthew 24-25, wars and rumors of wars.
Yes.
So in my father's generation, when World War II happened, they were like, that's the last days. Because
Yeah.
100%.
how much more last day could it get when we dropping nuclear bombs
Right.
and wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes in diverse places and things like that, right? So I don't look at it, and then, you know, 100 years passes, and then people are still like, well, if you say there's the last days and it didn't happen, and then you saying it now,
Wow.
I don't take it seriously.
Right.
So what I like people to understand is say, hey, look, today could be your last day. So whatever phone calls you need to make them. Your best way that you show up to work, show up. Because you might not wake up tomorrow, and that's the last day for you.
Wow.
So I look at every day as it could be my last day. So from that perspective, yeah. You know, we in the last day. Because it could be.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful. Very
You know,
well
My
said.
brother loved to ask this last
The
question.
last question, the culmination of life, you went from this incredible journey from faith to entertainment. Have you found what you're looking for in life and the purpose of life? What do you think is the overarching purpose of life?
But the more pressing question, have you found
what you're looking for out of life?
You know, yes and no. The reason I say yes is because I'm on the journey. And I think that's a part of what I'm looking for in life, is finding that right journey, because I believe it's about me becoming something. And I become something on the journey. Life to me is about becoming. It's not simply about you doing, it's about who are you becoming as a person. And everyone's perspective journey is there to help you become that something. The second thing I say no to is because I think as we go on this journey and destination, we're gonna figure out different things along the way. If you had asked me 10 years ago, could I see myself doing this now? The answer would be absolutely not. I wouldn't even thought it was possible.
Right.
Not only would I have not thought it was possible, I wouldn't have had the courage to even do it. And so that's why I don't like to say, hey, have I found everything I'm looking for? Because 10 years ago, I kind of probably would have said, yeah, but then I didn't see this future version of myself. And so I would hope that what everyone's looking for is the right journey that helps you become the person you're supposed to be, so that when you show up in the different spaces on this world needs you. And they need who you are becoming. And if you get on that journey and become who you're supposed to be, when you show up into the spaces that God opens up the doors for you to show up in, you're gonna make the difference. And that to me is the purpose and fulfillment of life, for you to bring who you are and what you bring to this world to those spaces, because it's gonna make a difference.
Wow, that was beautiful. Mike,
I'm gonna let that breathe.
yeah, you gotta let that breathe. Thank you so much for joining us.